Hello, my loves. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Jess from BehatiLife. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is your astro and intuitive forecast for the week of May 14th, 2018. The crazy thing is that this forecast, I kind of want to pin it somewhere because I feel like the changes that are happening this week are things that we're going to be feeling, and a shift that is going to be so important, so imperative that we just remember what this week looks like and what this week feels like. The biggest thing that I feel as I'm looking at the chart and as I'm working with my vibes and my intention is that this week is a pinnacle moment. And I know astrologers and intuitives, we say the same thing. I know you guys feel like we're repeating ourselves, or maybe you feel like I'm repeating myself when I say, look, this is a game changer. This week is a game changer, or this transit is a game changer. That's because there's so many things, there's so many events that act as a catalyst. And this week, I feel, and I'm looking at the chart and I can't ignore that it really feels as though the change and the shift that is opening during this week, that is being triggered by certain planetary adjustments, is going to act as a total if you're walking this way, then all of a sudden something happens and now you have to walk this way. And I don't want to take away from what I've said before in the weeks and months, that I say like, okay, this day, this full moon, this new moon is very important, because those moments help to bring you to where you're at right now. But this week is different. This week feels different. And this is because there's certain planets that are shifting, but also if you look at the chart and if you look at the cards and the vibe that is just out there in the cosmos, you've been feeling it. Like, you really have been feeling it. And it's these days, these moments that have brought us, that I said, look, you know what, when you are feeling this, or when the universe is presenting this to you, pay attention to it, because it's there for a reason. And this week is the ultimate game changer, where you're in this space. It's more, we're not even, well, we do have a new moon, but it's all a huge catalyst, a whole buildup of the things that have happened up until this point to bring you to this moment now. So there's small transits that are happening this week that I want you guys to be aware of, that of course I'm going to talk about. And then there's larger transits that we need to talk about, of course, i.e. the fact that Uranus is going to be moving into the sign of Taurus, which is huge. This transit in itself, and this change and this shift of energy, is so large that I can't actually talk about it all in this one video. I'm going to make a video right afterwards to talk about it there. So as I was writing down and looking at the chart and writing down my notes for the chart, there were some messages that came through that I wanted to share with you guys that I feel like you need to hear, and I'll sprinkle those in as I move forward into this chart reading. So just a heads up with that. You guys already know my process, and thank you so much for tuning in and watching and sticking to the very end. The one thing that, for those of you guys who are old friends to the channel, you know sometimes I have to take a few steps back in order to take a few steps forward. This is because although we're talking about this week ahead, there's certain things that have happened over the weekend that are now revealing themselves, and the energy is kind of manifesting in this moment now. And the biggest thing is the fact that Mercury is doing a lot of changing, a lot of shifting. Mercury rules our communication, our mind, our thinking, and our learning. And when Mercury affects all of us, how Mercury transits the chart, any of these planets, how they transit the chart, move through the chart, impacts us here on Earth. As above, so below. So Mercury is ruling a lot of where our heads are at, and that energy of how we're thinking and how we're communicating and what you can expect from others and also from yourself. So Mercury for a while was in the sign of Aries, and when Mercury was in Aries, we were so forward and aggressive, and it almost triggered a lot of fights and a lot of conflict and tension for some people. For others, it was more of taking initiative and making some changes. So you saw that within your own life. You saw that impact of that within your own life. Mars, ruling our drive and ambition, was moving through the sign of through the sign of Capricorn. And Mars is actually exalted in the sign of Capricorn. It loves being in the sign of Capricorn because Mars wants to set its goal. It's so goal driven. It's so like focused on a task. It's so focused on where it wants to go and what it wants to achieve. And Capricorn gives it that space and that strength to do what it does and to do what it does the best that it can. So I'm tying the two of these in because these are two very important personal planets, meaning we feel them now in our everyday life, the most intimately. And really when Mercury was moving through the sign of Aries, there was, and squaring off with Mars, which is something else that was happening last week that we've been feeling, that I want to talk to you guys about. It makes this push. It makes this, like, it builds up momentum, and it makes us focus. It makes us feel kind of, I don't want to say driven, but makes us more aggressive and makes us more, like, forceful when it comes to how we are expressing ourselves, what it is that we're thinking about, and what it is that we're trying to do. So Mercury is now moving into the sign of Taurus, which happened on the 13th, which was a Sunday, and that was Mother's Day. Mercury moving to the sign of Taurus, it really is switching up the energy from fast-paced, moving really quickly and being very forward and direct, to kind of slowing down and taking like a more practical, logical process, a more practical, logical way of thinking about things and moving towards things. And like, people need time. You need time to figure things out for yourself. Everything was so fast-paced for months. And now that Mercury is moving into the sign of Taurus and the sun has been moving through the sign of Taurus, remember how I was saying a few weeks ago, we had this push-pull that was going on in the cosmos. The universe is telling us to slow down, but our feeling and our vibe was like, go, 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 push, like act, act, act. It was almost impulsive. It was almost erratic. It was almost like we couldn't control ourselves. And that had consequences that are good and consequences that, could have been bad. So when Mercury moves into the sign of Taurus, this is more practical. It's more slow. It's more steady. Mentally, we start to ground ourselves. Thank goodness for that. But you probably have felt it, but are still seeing some really interesting stuff kind of pop off because Mercury had to meet with Uranus. And Uranus is a planet of surprise and unexpected developments and innovation and change. And Mercury and Uranus together, it's almost like word vomit. It's almost like I can't control, or someone who, let's say you say something to them and, they say to you, like, you're so stupid. And then you're like, your mom. It's like, you're an adult. Why would you say that? Like, that's very immature. You're better than that, but you can't really hold back what it is that you're saying. The other thing that I can see is this like spontaneous, this potential for like spontaneous fighting or spontaneous surprises or spontaneous information coming in. Mercury rules news. And I say this time and time again, but when a planet moves from one sign into the next, they always kind of leave a gift, or they always kind of leave like this like parting words. It's kind of like someone who's saying goodbye and they look back at you from the door, and then they say one thing and then they close the door and they walk off. And that's kind of what Mercury moving into the next sign from Aries into Taurus is going to do. And this, whatever it is that it's saying to you, whatever it is that flies in, whatever it is that happens, it's that last thing that you needed to hear, that last thing that you needed to see before you made the decision to move forward. Now, I feel as though there's going to be astrologers who may fight me on this. Maybe not fight with me, but disagree, because there's not a whole lot, for beginner to intermediate, I feel like people are looking at the chart and they're saying like, well, full moons signify endings. No, it doesn't. So I think that so many people are looking in the chart to see that there's something that is ending, that something's being released, because ultimately that's what's happening here. And you're not going to be able to see it because it's not in clear black and white when you look in the natal chart, or when you look in the astro chart. But it is actually there. There's a lot of stripping that is happening right now. And there's a lot of release and evolving, and a lot of like breakdowns, a lot of transformation that has been happening. And this week, that energy is totally being pushed into a space of newness. And this is because Pluto has been retrograde, Saturn has been retrograde, Jupiter has been retrograde. And then this week, Uranus is moving into the sign of Taurus, showing new energy. The same day that Uranus moves into the sign of Taurus, and we'll talk about that, is the day that we have a new moon in the sign of Taurus. So it's like there's so much going on when it comes to, again, you know, you're having to kind of like revisit. All of this was triggered by Pluto being turning retrograde. All of this was triggered by Saturn going retrograde, because like I keep on saying, like a broken record, Saturn needs you to revisit and to look at old things that you have committed yourself to, old responsibilities, old burdens. Sometimes the burden, the weight is worth it to carry. For example, let's say it's the responsibility of carrying the weight of a business and, you know, doing whatever it takes in order to make that business grow and for you to put in those hard hours. So that burden, that responsibility is something that is worth it in the end, because you see the payoff and it's something that you have committed yourself to and that you love, and that ultimately will become successful and giving, lasting, long lasting. Pluto rules destruction and transformation. Pluto has been working to dismantle and to destroy weak areas within your chart, weak areas within your life for your highest and greatest good. Now, everyone else on the internet is going to tell you in that moment, the week that Pluto goes retrograde or the week that Saturn goes retrograde, this is what's going to happen, and then they don't mention it again. And then you're kind of left on your own to kind of figure out, okay, why is this happening? There's this new moon that they're talking about that's supposed to be so positive. Why is it that this new moon is happening and I'm still going through all this transformation? Why am I experiencing this emotional purge? Why are my commitments breaking down? Why is my health being targeted? And it's because people say it in the moment and they forget about it. It's like set it and forget it. But that energy is still there, and that energy is strong, and that's where we're at this week. So I really want you guys to pay attention to it and to take it seriously. Like really take it seriously. I'm looking at the chart right now, and Mars is ruling again our drive and our ambition. All this week, Mars. Sorry guys, I had a phone call come in and kind of disrupt. I film on my iPhone because it's quick, fast, and easy, and that's how I like it. No, I'm just kidding. But Mars is moving through the sign of Capricorn, like it was that I was saying. But Mars is going to be squaring off with Uranus, and Uranus is the game changer this week. Oh my gosh, I can't say it to you enough. Even though Uranus is so far out there, it's one of those planets that is distant and it moves so slowly, it has an impact. It makes a huge change. It has a ripple effect. Uranus wants you to innovate. It wants you to break free. It wants you to have freedom. And that's crazy too, because that was a word that came through as I was getting the chart ready for you, is the word freedom and release and detaching from drama and detaching from stagnation. Uranus will simply not allow you to stay in a space that is stagnant and is not growing in any way, shape, or form. Saturn will stay there. Pluto will stay there. Pluto will have you obsessed. Saturn will have you anchored. Uranus, thank God for Uranus, will come in and shift everything up and say, like, this energy is old and it's stagnant, and I want you to try something new. You need to break free. Uranus will speeds up change because it's so innovative. It thinks differently. It thinks outside of the box. And as Uranus is moving to the sign of Taurus, now again, I have another video that's coming up for you guys after this. I'll be filming it and talking about it and putting it up on BehatiLife YouTube, so make sure that you're subscribed so that you get the notification when I upload it. But Mars is our action. Mars is war. Mars is powerful right now. The sun, I'm trying so hard to reel myself in because there's a lot going on in the chart. The sun is moving through Taurus, and it says slow down, step by step. Right now, I need to listen to my own advice as I'm trying to film this. It's like, slow down, Jess. One step at a time. Don't overwhelm everybody. We know that you're passionate. We know that there's a lot that needs to get said, but take it one step at a time. So sun moving through Taurus it really does say slow and steady, build up over time. Be practical, be logical. It's stubborn. It doesn't want to rush things because the best things in life can't be rushed. And again, as I'm saying this out loud, I need to listen to my own advice. But again, there's Mars that rules our drive and ambition, still very, very strong, that's squaring off with Uranus, making us like react, making us want to break things up immediately, break things up and shift things, like, and the changes that we make and the things that we feel and the things that we do this week have an impact for the rest of our lives. It sets a trend. It really does, because Uranus again changes like how we, even though Uranus doesn't represent our minds, it represents like what's being innovated in our lives. It represents where if we're breaking free, what are we breaking out into? What are we walking out into? What's this free space that we're in right now? And the crazy thing is, sorry, like I'm gonna stop apologizing. I feel this like so strongly. The crazy thing is that we can't actually predict what Uranus has for us, because Uranus rules surprise. It rules the unexpected. And I was doing a chart reading for someone yesterday, and I could see in his chart that, like, there was a lot of, stuff going on. I mean, whose chart doesn't have a lot going on in it right now, honestly? But as astrologers, we have to be very honest with our clients when we're looking at it, and say, like, look, Uranus can bring in anything, really. It's so impossible to predict unless you get a clear vision. And there's some things that I see and I don't say. There's some things that I see and I don't understand. And I'm being honest with you. There's some things that I can't see, but I can see the energy of it, but I don't know what it's going to look like when it comes in. And in this case, I can't see all. I can't see your chart, obviously, because this reading is for a general audience. This reading is for everyone. It's for no one specific, which is another topic. But I can't, when I'm looking at the chart, I can only see, and it's for you to hear my words and to listen to my message, and to listen to your feeling and your gut instinct and say, like, okay, I need to break out into fresh. The sun moving through Taurus is very slow and stubborn. But it's like, it also asks you this week, what is working? What feels good? What is giving to you as much as you give to it? And another message that came to me, you guys, when I was working on this chart was, you'll know if something is right for you, and you'll know that you're giving your energy to the right thing, because when you give so much of your energy, you don't walk away from it feeling depleted or less comfortable. You don't walk away from it feeling like you've been squeezed dry and you're just left there with nothing. When you are giving your energy to the right thing, it will grow. It will give to you. You will know. You may not see it, but you feel it. And that's what sun moving through Taurus and this new moon is going to trigger in you a lot, is because it's really like, if you study the tarot, it's like the pentacles, like the Knight of Pentacles, the Page of Pentacles, Queen of Pentacles, King of Pentacles. Maybe not King. Well, maybe King. He kind of oversees. And Queen. But really what it is, it's like having that chance to look out and say, like, okay, I've planted this seed, and I know that it's worth my attention and my investment. I can't see the growth, but I know that it will happen because I've put the time, the intention into it. So the amount of work that you put in slaving in those fields and planting those seeds and watering those seeds and weeding the weeds away from the plant so that they have a chance to grow. And that means removing negativity. That means removing bullshit. That means removing things that stifle your growth. What does that mean for you? If that's a relationship, then it's up to you to remove the weeds that kill the life of the plants that it is that you are growing. If it's a job, then that means that you remove the weeds that kill the life of that job in your career. That could be procrastination. That could be like refusing to learn and refusing to ask for help. That could be diminishing yourself. That could mean when you sit in meetings and you have a good idea, stop swallowing those ideas and letting other people speak for you, or take your ideas and whatever the case may be, or overlook you. Those are the weeds that you're pulling up. right? So it's up to you to take care of whatever it is that you're growing. And Mars, drive and ambition, and how we act, it can create, for some people, again, I'm looking at the general chart, so there's multiple ways that this energy can reveal itself. It can create a break, a spontaneous break, where it says, I'm done, I can't do this anymore, and I release, I let go, I'm out of here. Or it can be that spontaneous, like, this is what I want, I'll do whatever it takes to make this work. Because Mars is strong in the sign of Capricorn, and Mars is being triggered by Uranus, and Uranus is the planet that says, look, whatever it is that's being bubbled up here, and it could come from any direction, because again, Uranus is so unpredictable. But ultimately, every single step that you took until you got to this point this week has brought you to where you're at now, for divine timing, perfect timing. Okay, on the 16th, Mars is going to be moving into the sign of Aquarius. The 16th is a Wednesday. This means that we're moving from this steady, consistent progression into, all right, I realize I have to do things differently. I realize that I have to shake it up a bit, right? Oh, I got this little hair sticking up in my hair. The new moon is actually going to be happening on the 15th, and I'll talk about the new moon because that's another video that you guys are going to want to watch. And again, make sure that you're subscribed so that you can catch that immediately. And I know that some of you guys actually have your notifications set up. So as soon as I put that video up, you're like, boom, first comment, and I'm like, woo, yes. But anyways, Mars rules our drive and ambition, and Mars is moving through the sign of Aquarius, or will be moving through the sign of Aquarius on the 16th. That's also perfect when Mars squares off with Uranus. Uranus rules Aquarius. Isn't that interesting how all of these things are kind of all connected together? It's wild. It's not wild. It's no coincidence. So this is, again, Mars rules how we are like reacting to things. Mars rules how we achieve things and how we're doing it. Mercury rules how we think about it. Venus rules how we love it and how we value it. Moon represents how we feel about it, our emotions. Sun represents our focus. I hope that makes sense and all those pieces fall together for you. Saturn represents how we build it. Pluto represents how we destroy it and connect with it on a deeper level. Jupiter rules how we kind of like expand it, like how we kind of understand it on a deeper level. All right, so hopefully all of that makes sense to you, because all of these, I always get that question all the time about like, okay, if the sun is where our focus is, then why are we paying attention to all these other planets? Because those planets rule certain things. They rule different vibes and energies, and they change as they move. So anyways, Mars rules how we go to achieve something. Mars is our sword. Are we using it, like how are we using our sword? Are we slicing and dicing? Or are we diligently slicing through? Or are we, just brandishing it around and trying to draw attention to ourselves? So when Mars enters into the sign of Aquarius, our action and what is required of us is to kind of do things differently. The day before that, the 16th, that's when Uranus moved into the sign of Taurus. And that's huge because Uranus takes years, 7 years on average, 7 years to move through a sign. And Uranus has been moving through the sign of Aries and now moving into Taurus. It's a total energy change. It's a total game changer. So you want to check to see what Taurus rules within your chart. Now, again, I'll talk about that in my next video, so make sure, again, that you're subscribed. But back to Mars moving into the sign of Aquarius. So Mars moving into Aquarius, it asks us to not think outside of the box, but do things differently. The tried and true method that normally served us, it's now kind of being challenged. And that kind of shocks some people, especially the earth signs, because earth signs in Taurus, like Taurus in general, doesn't really like to shake the box. It likes things that are predictable in nature. So and it's really kind of rigid and stubborn when it comes to trying things new. But Uranus is moving into the sign of Taurus this week and will be in the sign of Taurus until it goes retrograde. So it is required, it's forced to move and shift and to change and to do things differently. And then Mars action moves into Aquarius the day after. So again, this is erratic, it's unique, it's different ways of expressing energy, it's different paths. This is, I don't need to do what others have done. I have to do what I'm going to do. For some people, again, Mars is a sword, and you have to kind of cut your own way, because that's what Aquarius does. It really does kind of go off to the beat of its own drummer. The whole world could be doing this. The whole world could be structured under this. And Mars moving through Aquarius, or an Aquarius energy in general, says, I got to do this. I got to do this for me. Or I'm getting the call, I'm hearing the call from the higher, the greater good. And I'm going to respond to that. I'm going to listen to that. And I'm going to act upon that. So that's what I see for you guys. Also keep in mind that on the 16th, it's really tough for me to tell, but I see that there could be accidents, impulsive, reckless behavior, or things that can manifest itself, and it could be the most random accidents. Like, what were you doing? Like, what do you mean you were on the roof jumping from one side to the next? Like, what do you mean? Why would you do that? Just really random, or just like crazy events happened. That day and this week, I really like, keep your eyes, I'm not that I want to speak this into existence, but keep your eyes on the news, because I just truly feel like you're going to start hearing some random stuff, random accidents, just like things like we just couldn't see it coming, even if we tried. And it could really be, accidents, attacks, things of that nature. So unfortunately, we have to keep an eye out for that. It is what it is. It could be maybe it's not the attack itself. Maybe it's the location. It's very random and very spontaneous. It doesn't have to be on a global level. It could be in your neighborhood. Just like, didn't see that coming. So we'll definitely keep our eyes open for that. And finally, on the 19th, I actually am needing this so bad in my life. And I am waiting for it. Me personally, I'm a Virgo. My sun is in Virgo, and I have a lot of personal planets in the sign of Virgo. So, Venus moving through the sign of Gemini, it's not one of my favorites. I don't look forward to it. I know many of my followers do. I don't really like calling you guys followers, but many of you guys do enjoy the flirtatiousness of Venus moving through Gemini. I don't. I personally don't. There's nothing wrong with it. I just don't vibe well with it. I'm more of a water and earth type of, girl. So I'm not trying to entertain, the whole Venus and Gemini vibes for too long. But it is what it is. Everything has its strengths and its weaknesses, and I have to I respect the moving of the planets. I don't know how you guys feel. Let me know how you guys feel with, Venus moving through Gemini. But on the 19th, finally, just me personally, I'm relieved, and you might not be relieved, but Venus moves from the flirtatiousness and the curiosity and the need to explore and to get out there of, being in Gemini, and the intellectual side of it. The intellectual side of like attraction, and if you're in a relationship, it's so good to like study new things and talk about new topics with your partner. Not that I'm not into that, I am, but I just personally prefer. I don't need to explain myself. We all have preferences. I know you have preferences. I have preferences. So I'm very excited for Venus to move into the sign of Cancer, because it's just a little bit more emotional. It's more sensitive. It's more nurturing. It's more gentle. I just vibe well with it. I'm also a Cancer ascendant. This video is not about me, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about what I like and what I don't like. But it's just my own personal preference. It likes home cooked meals. It finds like things that we're accustomed to. It finds them like beautiful and love. Like, we just love it. Like, you love to like, instead of going out and going to a library for like a date, that's Venus and Gemini, or going to a museum with Venus and Gemini. This is when Venus moves into Cancer. It's more like, well, let's stay at home. Let's watch a movie. Let's eat popcorn. Let's go for a walk. Let's walk the dogs. Let's go to the park. and then let's go home. And it's like, I like the comfort of Venus in Cancer. So for me personally, I'm looking forward to it, because Venus rules like our aesthetic, our beauty, and in a lot of ways, for me personally, it rules my home environment. So the home environment, or whatever it rules within your chart, becomes more comforting and it becomes more nurturing. And I could really, in my own life, I want to, spend some time in my home and just, kind of ground and like center myself with that. So I'm very excited about Venus moving through the sign of Cancer. For those of you guys who are like, okay, Jess, you talked all about yourself with this transit. Essentially what you're seeing with this is it just feels like, good to be at home. It feels good to be with family. You are spending more time doing things that are more intimate, more private, more exclusive, instead of just like scattered out there. Okay, when it comes to your values, when it comes to relationships, when it comes to love. Okay, so that's definitely what I see for you guys. Woo! Am I missing any messages? I feel like I had. Oh, okay. The biggest message that it is that I wanted to share with you guys, that's very important, lastly, is it's very important this week that you clear and shield your energy, that you detach. There's a lot of detachment that needs to happen. There's a lot of, number one, it's because, again, people are being triggered. If there's so many things that are up in the air, if there's so much that's being kicked up, then you, in a lot of ways, if you're not a part of it, it's really good to kind of detach from it. Let's say you are a part of it. Let's say you are a part of this dust storm. Then it's also that reminder that this is not a reflection of me. I have to detach myself emotionally from this, or I have to create distance from myself and this, so that I can be in a space where I am protected and I am good and I am being cared for, and I'm not getting caught up in the negativity. I'm not getting caught up in the drama. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening this week that I want you guys to be aware of. It doesn't have to be all negative, but I'm saying is that there's multiple ways that this energy can manifest itself. And what's clear is that we're breaking into new territory. In fact, the other day, I literally was sitting and meditating because there's new changes that are happening in my life. And when I saw like a positive result, and I saw something like, new growing in my life, I actually felt emotional, because that meant that I had to release some old things. I had to be prepared for what is ahead of me. And as excited as I am for what's ahead of me in the future, it still is new territory. So I had to detach from everything that it is that I wanted to do that day. I had to detach, not from my feelings, but I had to protect myself and allow myself to go into that space of allowing myself to release and to acknowledge the fact that even though there's good things that are happening in my life, that it still can be scary. It's still uncharted territory, and I'm doing it by myself. So I feel like I had to say that. I feel like freedom is a huge word right now. Of course, naturally, Uranus rules that freedom and that space to go off and to create for yourself structure, stability, a home environment, finances, your values. All of these things are going to start shifting. This means that you're entering into fresh new territory. And for a lot of people, that's scary, and that's normal. I don't care how bold and fearless you are and how much you love adventure. As thrilling as adventure is, it's still new, and it still brings up emotions. It still can trigger you. And it's important for you to be able to allow yourself to feel that and to know that it's normal, and then also continue to move forward. And there's a lot of feelings that are always caught up. With every new beginning is some end. And in a lot of ways, with that ending, you have to say goodbye to it. That could be goodbye to the old self. It could be goodbye to an old environment that you used to work in. It could be goodbye to an old normal, and now you're moving into this new territory. You know that it's good. You know that what is ahead of you is so much better than what you've left, but it's still the unknown. All right, so that's what it is that I got from it's the energy of detach from drama. There is in the message clear and shield your energy. There are videos that I made about saging and cleansing your space, releasing. If you would like me to make more videos about emotionally purging and releasing, I'm more than happy to do that. I think now would be an awesome time to talk about it because of everything that's going on. My apologies for this video for being so long, but also sorry not sorry, because you guys, I'm not gonna scale myself back in any way, shape, or form. And there's some things that I feel like you need to hear. And some people, a lot of you guys, when you hear my messages, it makes everything make sense. And I want everything to make sense for you. All right, my lovies? Woo! So I'm out of here. Readings are open and they're down in my description box. If you're looking for an appointment and everything is booked up, just keep coming back. Some people change their schedules a lot, or there's, changes in the schedule that, from last minute cancellations or people adjusting. So, just check on them. For the shop is going to be opening up, reopening up on Thursday, and I will be making a new moon oil and Uranus oil. I've got so much in store for us. It's just insane. So you can see all of that in the links in my bio. You can shop my apothecary and read about me, read about my Archangel Michael never failing prayer. Just so much is on the website, and all the links for that are down below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Big hugs, big hugs. I'm giving you a big hug and I'm sending all my love. And I'll talk to you soon in the next video, which will most likely be Uranus's move through Taurus. We'll talk soon. Bye.